The ultrasound room always smelled like sanitizer and warm plastic. I lay back on the paper sheet and tried to breathe like the nurse told me, slow, steady, quiet. My phone sat face down on my coat, buzzing once with a calendar reminder I'd already acknowledged twice. I'd taken the earliest slot so I wouldn't miss work. 8:10 a.m., right after my usual drive past the New Glass Medical Park off I-40. I still had a lukewarm coffee in my cup holder outside. The receipt said $5. 12, and I'd folded it into a tight square without thinking. The tech wiped gel over my belly and kept her voice light. "Okay, Tessa." Little pressure. I watched the ceiling tiles like they were supposed to tell me something. When she printed the first image, she handed it to me with a practiced smile. I pinched the glossy corner between my thumb and forefinger, careful not to smudge the ink. The label read, "Price, Tessa," like it was already done. My throat tightened. I wasn't a price. Not yet. The ring on my hand was a promise, not a stamp. Below my name, under a line that said partner, spouse, it already listed, Grant Price. I sat up a little too fast, paper crinkling beneath me. That's wrong. The text smile twitched. Sometimes the system autofills from intake. I didn't put that in, I said, and heard my own voice go thin. She reached for the printout, hesitated, then tucked it back into my hand like she didn't want to be holding it. "Doctor Shaw will review everything with you." Her shoes squeaked as she left. The door clicked shut. The machine's fan hummed, steady as a lie. I checked the time again, 8:36, and then checked it again like I didn't trust myself. A minute later, the door opened, and Dr. Anita Shaw walked in with my chart pressed against her scrubs. She didn't do the usual warm hello. Her eyes flicked to my face, then dropped straight to the paper in my hand. "Let me see," she said, and her voice didn't leave room for no. I gave her the ultrasound printout. She held it up close, then lower, then close again. I watched her mouth tighten at the corners. On top of my file was a manila folder with a red tab peeking out, bright as a warning light. It looked like the same kind I used at work when an account needed review. Not urgent. Not panicked. Just flagged. "Doctor." Shaw pulled a page from the chart, one of those forms, with tiny boxes and dense lines, and her fingers went still mid-motion. "What is it?" I asked. She didn't answer. She shifted her hip and slid the exam room door shut. Not a gentle push. A firm, final shut, the kind that says, "We're not doing polite anymore." Dr. Shaw whispered, "Divorce now," without blinking. The words landed wrong in a medical room. Divorce wasn't even in my vocabulary yet. Engagement, venue, tastings, seating charts. Those were my problems. "Excuse me?" I said, and I hated how small it sounded. Dr. Shaw didn't look away. "Listen to me," she said, low. "I'm going to show you something. You do not react loudly. You do not call anyone from this room." My fingers closed around the printout so hard it flexed. "Why would you?" She cut me off with a look. Control. Not cruelty. Like she'd seen this kind of thing and knew how it ended. She turned the computer monitor toward me. A patient portal screen sat open with my name across the top. I leaned in, squinting. There was a section with blurred gray text, like it hadn't fully loaded, and one line that kept snapping into focus for half a second before shifting again. I could make out only pieces, authorized, then a blank smear, then representative. "What does that mean?" I asked. Dr. Shaw's jaw tightened. "It means someone tried to put themselves between you and your care. As. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. "Grant wouldn't." Dr. Shaw's hand came down flat on the chart. Paper popped under her palm. "I am not guessing. I'm reading." She pulled out another page and held it where I could see it. A consent form, my information typed neatly at the top. Boxes checked in pen. And at the bottom, my stomach turned. Not from the baby. From the ink. "That isn't mine," I said, and I heard the panic slip through. "That's not my signature." Dr. Shaw didn't nod. Didn't comfort. She simply pointed, like a teacher marking a wrong answer. Then tell me, she said, voice steady. Whose name is written here? I stared until my eyes burned, because the last name on the line wasn't Nguyen. At the bottom of the page, my name was signed Tessa Price in ink. The sun outside felt too bright for what I'd heard. I walked through the lobby like my shoes were borrowed, the ultrasound printout folded against my palm like contraband. The elevator doors closed, and my reflection stared back at me in the mirror panel, wide eyes, tight mouth, trying to look normal. I checked the time. 8:49. I checked again. 8:49. In the parking lot, my car's AC blasted cold air that smelled faintly like vanilla and old receipts. I sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, not turning the key, not moving. The paper on my lap kept wanting to spring open, like it had unfinished business. My phone screen lit up with a missed call from the clinic. I didn't call back. Dr. Shah's voice replayed in my head, calm and hard. You do not call anyone from this room. So, I did what I always did when my chest got tight. I went looking for a system. A record. I opened the patient portal app and logged in. The password took on the first try, which almost made me mad. Part of me wanted to be locked out so I could pretend none of it was real. The home screen loaded with a cheery banner. Welcome, Tessa Price. My throat pulsed once, hot and dry. My name was already changed in their system. I tapped demographics, then emergency contacts, then authorized contacts, moving too fast, like speed could turn it into a typo. The page lagged. Gray boxes shimmered where text should be. Then one line snapped into focus, sharp as a blade. Authorized representative. G. Price. The rest blurred again. Like the app was trying to protect me from reading my own life. I took a screenshot, then another, in case the first one didn't save. My finger hovered over the share icon and stopped. No, not yet. I forced myself to breathe, counting in fours the way an anxious person pretends is a choice. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. My eyes stung, but I refused to cry in my car like I was a cliché. The ultrasound printout slid off my lap onto the passenger seat. The corner bent slightly, and something in me flinched like it was a living thing. I dialed Keisha without thinking, because some habits are stronger than fear. She answered on the second ring. You okay? I'm at my desk. I'm in my car, I said. Outside the clinic. A beat. Her voice dropped. What happened? Dr. Shah said something. The words felt stupid out loud. She told me to divorce Grant, and my chart has, I swallowed. It has my name as Price, like it's already filed somewhere. Keisha didn't gasp. She didn't go soft. She got sharp. Do not text me details, she said. No summaries. No emotional paragraphs. Screenshots only. Screenshots only, she repeated, and I could hear her fingers moving, already opening a notes app, already building a timeline. And email them to yourself too, your personal email, not work. I glanced at the portal again, like it might have changed in the last 10 seconds. There's a line that says, Authorized representative, G. Price. It keeps blurring. Take 3 screenshots, she said. Different scroll positions. Get the header if you can, and record your screen while it loads. I did it with shaking hands, holding my breath while the app refreshed. The line flickered in and out, but the letters stayed the same. G. Price. Keisha exhaled through her nose. Okay, that's not cute. That's not a clerical error. He's 17 a sense of all. Grant wouldn't do this, I said, and hated myself for how quickly I defended him. Like loyalty was an instinct, not a choice. Maybe Grant, Keisha said. Maybe Nora, maybe both. But someone is touching your medical care. I stared at the printout on my seat. Price, Tessa. My stomach rolled. Keisha went on, fast and clipped. Do not confront him yet. Don't warn them. If you warn them, they delete. You preserve. Preserve, I repeated, like I was learning a new language. Paper doesn't lie, people do. A notification popped up at the top of my screen. Voicemail. Unknown number. Then the transcript preview loaded a name like a slap. Nora Price. My fingers went numb. Keisha, I whispered. What? It's Nora. She left a voicemail. Don't call her back, Keisha said immediately. Play it on speaker with me listening. And screen record if you can. My thumb hovered over the voicemail. I checked the time again. 9:03. Again. 9:03. I pressed play, and Nora's voice slid into my car like perfume, sweet, confident, ownership hiding under manners. Sweetie, she purred. Call me back the second you're alone before Grant gets home. I didn't drive home the normal way. I took the long loop through the medical park, then doubled back, like I could shake eyes off my bumper if I zigzagged enough. When I finally pulled into my apartment lot, I sat another full minute, with the engine off, listening to the tick of cooling metal. Jodan Arshitsiefen. Jodan Arshitsiefen. Inside, the air smelled like last night's dishwasher pods and the candle I forgot to blow out. I set my purse down and went straight to the kitchen counter like it was an evidence table. Ultrasound printout. Phone screenshots. A folded coffee receipt with $5.12. My hands shook as I flattened everything. I opened my email and sent the screenshots to myself. Subject line blank, like a coward. Then I forwarded them to Keisha with nothing but a timestamp. 9:29 a.m. My name had been changed without my consent. I replayed Nora's voicemail again, this time watching the transcript crawl across my screen. Sweetie, call me back the second you're alone before Grant gets home. Before Grant gets home? That part stuck to my ribs. I clicked the voicemail details and stared at the time it was left. 9:04. I'd still been in my car, outside the clinic, with gel residue on my skin, and Dr. Shah's whisper still burning in my ears. How did Nora know I'd be alone? My phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. Don't respond to anything. Save everything. I typed OK and deleted it without sending. The apartment felt too quiet, so I turned on the sink and let the water run. I washed my hands twice, like it could rinse the ink off that consent form. Then I opened my calendar and stared at my appointment confirmation. 8:10 a.m. Ultrasound. Only Grant and I had access to that shared calendar. I checked the time again. 9:41. Again. 9:41. A key turned in my lock. I froze with the phone in my hand, screen still open to "Welcome, Tessa Price." The words looked like they belonged to a stranger. Grant stepped inside carrying a grocery store bouquet, bright daisies, the cheap kind he bought when he wanted to look thoughtful fast. He wore his work badge like a medal, and the same smile he used on waiters and neighbors. Hey, he said lightly. I got out early. Thought I'd surprise you. H's for Mendivit. My throat tightened around the word surprise. Why are you home? I asked. He blinked once, like he hadn't rehearsed that question. Project got moved. No big deal. He set the flowers on the counter and leaned in to kiss my cheek. I turned my face just enough that his lips hit air. His smile held for half a second too long. Okay, he said, still warm. What's going on? I slid the ultrasound printout across the counter toward him. The glossy corner caught the light. He glanced down. His eyes flicked over the label. Price. Tessa then snapped back up to my face. That microsecond told me everything. Recognition, then control. That's just how clinics label stuff, he said. They autofill. It lists you as my partner, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. I didn't put your name in my chart, Grant. He sighed, like I was asking him to fix a leaky faucet. Babe, you're stressed. This is normal paperwork mess. Add again. I unlocked my phone and tapped the screenshot, holding it out between us like a shield. Someone signed me into his life on paper. The line was right there, crisp in the middle of a blur. Authorized representative. G. Price. Grant's eyes darted to it, then away. Too fast. Like he knew exactly where not to look. That's nothing, he said. It's probably Insurance. They do that if you list me anywhere. I didn't. His jaw tightened. The charm thinned. You're spiraling. Dimes. I felt my engagement ring bite my finger as I clenched my hand. Dr. Shah told me to divorce you. That did it. His face hardened for one ugly beat. Then he grabbed the daisies and shoved them deeper onto the counter like flowers could reset the room. Don't say stuff like that, he snapped, then dropped his voice into a hiss. Do you want people to hear you? Do you want the clinic thinking you're unstable? There it was. Not concern. Strategy. I stared at him, trying to match this man to the one who picked cake samples and argued about napkin colors. My chart has a signature, I said quietly. A consent form. It's not mine. Grant shook his head, slow and deliberate. You're pregnant. Your hormones are all over the place. Let me handle it. I don't want you handling anything, I said. He took a step closer, not touching me, but making the kitchen feel smaller. Tessa, he warned, like my name was a leash. My phone rang. Clinic number. Grant's eyes dropped to the screen, and his mouth twitched like he'd won something. I stared at the caller ID, then back at him. He already knew they'd call. The phone kept ringing, and Grant said, softly. Grant stared at my ringing phone like it was a remote he could grab. Answer it on speaker, he said softly. My thumb hovered. I checked the time. 9:58. Again. 9:58. I tapped accept and held the phone between us like a live wire. Tessa Nguyen? A woman asked, crisp and careful. This is Marla, clinic compliance. Dr. Shah asked me to contact you. Are you able to return to the office today? Grant's eyes narrowed a fraction, like he'd heard the script before. I can, I said, and my voice surprised me by not shaking. Please come to the front desk, Marla continued. Do not bring anyone into the meeting room unless instructed. Grant lifted his eyebrows, performative innocence. I could almost hear his internal caption. See? Normal. Thank you, I said. I'll be there. When I ended the call, Grant reached for his keys. I'm coming with you, he said. No, I said, immediate and clear. His smile reappeared like a mask clicking into place. Tessa, if you go in there alone and say the wrong thing, I said no. His jaw tightened. For a second, I saw the version of him that didn't exist at engagement parties. Then he exhaled slow, like he was doing me a favor. Fine, he said, but you're not turning this into a scene. He didn't sound worried, he sounded rehearsed. I left without waiting for an argument to finish. My hands shook so badly I dropped my keys once on the hallway tile. I scooped them up and kept moving. In my car, I called Keisha again before I could talk myself out of it. On my way back, I said. Compliance meeting. Good, she replied. No warmth, just traction. Put me on earbuds. Start recording now. And if anyone says anything about you being unstable, don't defend. Pin them down. I'm not. I know, she said. But they don't know. You need witnesses. The word hit me wrong. Witnesses made it sound like court, like danger. I checked the time at the stoplight. 10:12. Again. 10:12. The medical park looked the same as it had an hour ago: glass walls, neat hedges, the illusion of cleanliness. Inside, the lobby smelled like lemon disinfectant and nervous sweat. At the front desk, the receptionist's smile was too wide. Tessa? She asked brightly, like we were friends. We were expecting you. Expecting. My stomach flipped at the word. A triage nurse in navy scrubs stepped out and motioned me down the corridor. 2 patients sat in the waiting area, one with a round belly and one with a toddler tugging her sleeve. A clinic manager stood near the hallway, arms crossed like a bouncer in business casual. And then, Nora Price swept in from the entrance like she owned the building. Pearl earrings, cream blazer. That soft, practiced grin that said I'm harmless, while her eyes measured my weaknesses like inventory. Oh, there you are, she chirped, loud enough for the waiting room to hear. We've all been so worried. My blood went cold. How did you? Grant appeared behind her, as if he'd teleported. He must have followed anyway. Of course he had. Nora's gaze slid over my face, then down to my belly, then back up with a look that made me feel peeled open. The receptionist glanced between them, uncertain. The triage nurse paused mid-step. The toddler stopped whining and stared. Nora tilted her head and raised her voice another notch. She's unstable, she faked this pregnancy for attention. Silence snapped through the corridor like a rubber band breaking. I felt my ears ring. My mouth went dry. The woman with the round belly's eyes widened. The clinic manager shifted her weight, suddenly alert. A security guard I hadn't noticed near the elevator straightened and took one step closer, hand near his radio. Grant's face stayed carefully blank. Not shocked, not offended, just ready. Keisha's voice in my ear went tight. There. That's it. Don't you dare spiral. My vision tunneled for half a second. Shame tried to climb up my throat like bile. I swallowed it. I lifted my phone. I didn't point it like a weapon. I held it steady, like a document. Say it once more, I said, and my voice didn't crack. Nora blinked, smile faltering. The clinic manager's eyes flicked to my phone. The triage nurse's posture changed, less medical, more protective. Grant stepped in, palm out. Tessa, stop. Are you threatening my patient? The triage nurse asked, sharp. Grant's charm switched on instantly. No. This is emotional. Tell be aus. Nora recovered fast, because women like her practiced recovery. Sweetie, she cooed, softer now. We're trying to help you. You're confused. The security guard took another step. Authority filled the space like a heavy coat. A door opened at the end of the corridor, and a woman with a lanyard and a closed expression appeared. Marla from compliance. She looked at the cluster of bodies, then at me, then at Nora, like she was counting variables. Miss Nguyen, she said, precise. Come with me. Alone. Grant started forward. Marla's gaze cut him off. Alone, she repeated, and the clinic manager nodded toward the guard. Nora's smile hardened. I'm family. Marla didn't flinch. Not in our system. She led me into a small meeting room with a round table and a framed poster about privacy on the wall, ironic enough to sting. The door shut behind us with a soft click. Marla placed a single sheet of paper on the table, face down, like she was setting down a knife with the handle toward me. Before we begin, she said, I need you to look at this release form. She flipped it over. At the bottom was my name typed correctly, followed by a signature that tried to be mine. And a timestamp that made my stomach drop. 3:12 a.m. I stared at the witness line as my breath went thin. It had two initials I knew too well. Marla didn't sit right away. She stood at the whiteboard like she was about to teach a class, not tell me someone had tried to steal my body on paper. You're seeing a release of information form, she said, timestamped 3:12 a.m. Our system recorded it as signed digitally. My eyes stayed on the witness line. Two initials, blocky, familiar. Those aren't my initials, I said. And that isn't my signature. Marla nodded once, like she'd been waiting for that sentence. Okay, then we're moving into an investigation. It's not collating those. She slid a second page across the table. It wasn't pretty, no soft language, no pastel headings. It was a log, columns, times, names, access types. Viewed, edited, printed. My brain latched on to the only thing that ever calmed me. Timestamps. 9:04 p.m., viewed. 11:58 p.m., viewed. 3:12 a. 3:14 a.m. Printed. My stomach tightened. Who accessed it? Marla kept her voice neutral. We can't disclose identities until we complete the review. But I can tell you this wasn't a front desk mistake. This required credentials and specific permissions. This wasn't a typo. It was a plan. The framed privacy poster on the wall started to feel like a joke someone hung for sport. Marla reached into a folder-red tab on the edge, bright and clean, and pulled out another sheet. This is a summary of external requests tied to your file. My breath caught. External requests? A request to release ultrasound images and prenatal records, she said, citing premarital agreement review. The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did, all at once, and my mouth went dry. I haven't signed any, I started. Marla raised a palm. I know. That's why we're here. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it on instinct, then remembered Keisha's rules. Preserve, record, don't warn them. I pulled one earbud out and whispered, Keisha, are you there? I'm here, she whispered back. I could hear paper rustling, keys clicking. Don't sign anything. Marla watched me, not unkind but firm. If you want us to restrict access immediately, I need your written statement that this signature isn't yours. A trap dressed as help. My heart hammered. Can I have counsel review it? Marla's expression didn't change. That is your right. Keisha's voice sharpened in my ear. Call Leo. Now. I tapped Leo Santos's number with my thumb and put him on speaker, low. He picked up quickly, like he'd been expecting a fire. This is Leo. This is Tessa Nguyen, I said, and my voice sounded foreign to me. Clinic compliance wants me to sign a statement. Leo didn't ask how I got his number. He didn't flirt with small talk. Do not sign anything you haven't read twice, he said. Ask for copies of everything they show you. Photograph it if you can. Add. Marla's eyes flicked to my phone, then back to me. Authority recognized authority. I also need to ask, Leo continued, whether there's any contract involved. Prenup drafts, addendums, anything referencing medical consent or imagery. Marla exhaled once, then turned her laptop slightly so I could see the screen. A case file window was open with attachments listed in plain text. My eyes snagged on a file name like it had teeth. Price, premarital, final. PDF. I stared. Why is that in my medical file? Marla's voice stayed clipped. It was uploaded as supporting documentation for the release request. My pulse jumped so hard it felt like nausea. Grant had been moving paper around me like furniture. Leo's tone went colder. Ask for the section they're relying on. Marla clicked into the PDF and scrolled with the kind of calm I didn't have. A paragraph lit up in yellow highlight. Medical imagery. Proxy consent. Family council. My hands went damp against the table edge. They wrote me into a contract I never saw. The door outside the meeting room rattled once someone trying the handle. Marla didn't look up. We ask that no one interrupt, she said, louder. A familiar male voice drifted through the wood anyway, smooth and irritated. It's fine. I'm her fiancé. Grant. Keisha hissed. He followed you. Marla's gaze returned to me. Miss Nguyen, she said quietly. Do you feel safe going home today? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text preview from Grant. Don't let your friend ruin this. Remember the party. Marla kept her eyes on my face, not my belly. Miss Nguyen, she asked again. Do you feel safe going home today? My phone was still lit on the table, Grant's text sitting there like a thumbprint. Don't let your friend ruin this. Remember the party. I swallowed and nodded once, because the truth felt too big for that room. The framed privacy poster watched me lie. Marla stood and opened the door a crack. I heard Grant's voice immediately, smooth and irritated. It's fine. I'm her fiancé. I checked the time on my lock screen. 10:47. Then again. 10:47. Marla stepped into the hallway and didn't raise her voice. Sir, you are not authorized for this meeting. I'm her family, Nora added, softer, like a knife wrapped in velvet. There was a pause, then the quiet shuffle of a security guard moving closer. The air outside thickened with authority. Marla came back in and shut the door. Her hands didn't shake, but her jaw worked like she was chewing words. I'm going to give you something, she said. It's not standard procedure, but it's yours. She reached into the red-tabbed folder and pulled out a sealed white envelope, the kind used for lab results. A sticker ran across the flap, initialed in 2 places. Receipt number EC11874 sat on the sealed envelope. This is the intake receipt for the ethics complaint, Marla said. It documents the breach and locks the timeline. My mouth went dry. Complaint filed by who? By us, she said. On your behalf. She slid the envelope toward me like she was sliding a weapon with the safety off. My fingers hovered, then closed on it. The sticker was warm from her hand. Inside, she continued, is the access summary you asked for, plus the print history. We redact patient data we're not allowed to show you. My nails scraped at the sticker edge. I peeled it slowly, careful, like the paper might cut me back. The first page was a table, black and white, unfriendly. It had the same columns I'd seen before, only now there was one more column on the right. User ID. My eyes snapped straight to the time. Tre. 12A. User ID. Guy Price Fira Ectradive. A cold rush went through my arms. I stared until the letters blurred, then blinked hard and stared again. Marla didn't soften her voice. That login belongs to one individual credential set. I heard Keisha in my earbud inhale, sharp and angry. Screenshot. Now. I lifted my phone and took the picture. The camera clicked loud in the quiet room. You told me you couldn't disclose identities, I whispered. This is a credential ID, Marla said. Not a person's name. But you're smart enough to read it. I was. And I hated that I was. I flipped to the next sheet. It was a print log, with a printer name and location. 314A. M. Printed nurse station. 2. B. I pictured the clinic at 3 in the morning. Empty hallways, dim monitors, someone walking out with my baby's images and my forged name. Then I saw the attachment page Marla had tucked behind the logs. A scanned PDF of the consent form, my information typed neatly, boxes checked, and my name signed wrong. Marla watched me look. Dr. Shaw flagged the signature the moment she saw it. Condijoted. She whispered, "Divorce now," I said, and my voice came out thin. A knock hit the door. Not polite. A flat rap that meant impatience. Marla opened it halfway, just enough to block the doorway with her shoulder. Grant's face appeared in the gap, all charm and threat held in the same smile. "We're done here," he said, like he could end it by saying so. Behind him, Nora's eyes glittered. The security guard stood at an angle, ready. Marla didn't move. "You are not permitted inside," she said. Grant's gaze slid past her, straight to me. "Tessa, come on. You're making this bigger than it is." He took one step forward anyway. I stood up so fast my chair legs scraped. The envelope and papers stayed in my hands like they belonged there. "Back up," I said, loud enough for the hallway. "You don't get access." Grant froze, smile still pasted on, but his eyes flashed anger, then calculation. Nora tried to glide around Marla's shoulder. "Sweetie, you're confused. Let's go home." Marla lifted her hand, palm out, and for the first time she raised her voice. The guard stepped in front of Nora, and Nora's face pinched like she'd never been blocked in her life. Grant's attention snapped back to the documents in my hands. "What did she give you?" I didn't answer. I didn't owe him air. I slid the papers back into the envelope, slow and deliberate, and tucked it under my arm like a binder at work. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. Marla leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper that wasn't kind, but was honest. "They weren't just changing your name," she said. "They were setting you up for a public signature." She nodded toward my phone, where Grant's text still glowed. "Remember the party." Then she added one more sentence, the one that made my stomach go hollow. "The request included a notary appointment tonight, 6:30, at the hotel ballroom. Aver. Word count, 694. I didn't go back up to my apartment right away. I sat in my car with the envelope on my lap, the seal half peeled, my fingers pressed flat over the receipt number like it could burn through my skin. The parking lot was full of normal people doing normal errands, and I felt like I'd stepped out of the same world. Shirdan Wushabafen. Shirdan Wushabafen. I drove home with my mirrors adjusted too wide, checking reflections the way I checked times twice, then twice again. When I finally walked inside, I locked the deadbolt and leaned my forehead against the door until my breathing stopped shaking. At 3:12 a.m., His login touched my body. Keisha arrived 10 minutes later with her hair still damp from a rushed shower and a tote bag stuffed with legal pads. She didn't hug me. She didn't ask if I was okay. She took the envelope from my hands like it was fragile evidence at a crime scene. Kitchen, she said. Counter. Bright light. A very paper a die. I watched her lay everything out in rows. The access summary, the print log, the consent scan, the ethics receipt with EC11874 stamped clean and sharp. She photographed every page, then photographed the photos on her screen like she didn't trust technology either. Leo's on his way, she said. He wants a full timeline. Grant texted me, I whispered. Keisha's eyes flicked to my phone. Don't respond. I didn't. Good. Now we assume they're still moving, she said, voice flat. And we stop giving them space. I pulled my purse onto the counter and started unloading it: wallet, keys, lip balm, a crumpled grocery list Grant had written on the back of a flyer. My fingers kept snagging on the lining, like something inside was catching. Keisha's gaze sharpened. What is that? I don't know, I said, and my stomach tightened. I turned the purse inside out. The lining tore a little at the seam, and a small black rectangle clattered onto the counter plastic, light, with a tiny LED dot in the corner. I stared at it like it was a bug. Keisha didn't blink. Tracker. My mouth went cold. No. That can't. Keisha picked it up with a paper towel, like it was contaminated. It can. It does. Welcome to control with a battery. I backed away until I hit the fridge. The hum sounded suddenly loud. My hands hovered over my belly, useless. Keisha opened her phone and snapped a picture, then another. We bag it. We document it. We don't throw it away like a scared person. Her words stung because they were true. My doorbell camera app sat on my phone like a forgotten shortcut. I hadn't checked it in days. I didn't want to be the kind of person who watched her own front door. Now I was. I opened the app and scrolled back through last night. There were a few normal clips: delivery driver, neighbor's dog, nothing else, until my thumb hit a timestamp that made my throat seize. 3:28 a.m. I tapped it. The video loaded in grainy color, porch light washing the image pale. Nora stepped into frame in her cream blazer like she was arriving for brunch. Behind her, the hallway was dark. She looked straight at the camera for half a second like she knew where it was, and then she lifted her hand. A key ring glinted. She tried my lock once. Twice. Fast, impatient turns. I felt my whole body go hot and then cold. Keisha leaned in, eyes narrowed. Zoom. I pinched the screen, hands shaking. The key ring was heavy, full, too full to be hers by accident. Nora paused, then pulled out one key and tested it more carefully, like she expected it to work. The lock didn't turn. Nora's mouth tightened. She stepped back and typed on her phone. A second later, another figure moved into the edge of the frame: broad shoulders, dark jacket. Grant. He didn't look at the camera. He looked at the door like he owned the address. He leaned close to Nora, and even through the muted microphone, I caught the shape of his words. Don't wake her. Keisha hit record on her screen. Save that clip. Save it twice. I stared at the timecode again, 3:18 a.m. Then at the print log time, in my head, 3:14 a.m. Like my brain was stacking blocks into a tower I didn't want to see. Why were they here at 3 in the morning? I asked, and my voice came out thin. Keisha's answer was immediate. Because paper needs silence. My phone buzzed. Another text from Grant. Stop letting her poison you. I'm coming over. Keisha snatched the phone from my hand and screenshot it. He's not coming over, she said. Keisha, she was already moving. Shoes, coat. We're going to Leo's office. Then we change your locks. Tonight you don't sleep behind a key Nora owns. It's still you know. I followed her out, like my legs belonged to someone braver. Leo met us in a small, glass-walled office above a dry cleaner, his tie loosened, his desk covered in folders that looked like people's worst days. He listened without interrupting while Keisha played the doorbell clip, then placed the ethics receipt and the access summary on his desk. He didn't flinch at G-Price 3-4. He didn't react to the tracker like it was dramatic. He simply nodded and started writing in clean, straight lines. Timeline, he said. We anchor everything to times. I watched him build it like a spine. 312 A. M. Chart edited. G price 34. 314 A. M. Printed. Nurse station 2. B. 318 A. M. Nora attempts entry doorbell cam. 10:47 a.m. Compliance hands you receipt. EC1. 1874. My stomach twisted as the pattern tightened. Leo looked up. Do you have a spare key arrangement with your fiancé? No, I said. But I stopped. Keisha's phone chimed with a new email alert. She glanced at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen like she didn't want to say it out loud. What? I asked. She swallowed once. Your doorbell camera caught more audio when Grant leaned in. She hit play again, volume up, and this time the words came through, low and clean enough to hurt. We just need her calm, Grant said on the clip, until the party. It's data. By the time I walked back into my building, the sky had turned that flat winter blue Raleigh gets when it wants to pretend it's calm. Leo's office elevator had a mirror panel, and my reflection looked like someone who'd been awake for days. I checked the time. 1:06. I checked again. 1:06. Keisha held my elbow like I was fragile glass, but her grip was practical, not tender. We do one normal thing, she said. You go to work. You don't vanish. You don't give them a story. He was a next to video. I nodded, even though my stomach hated the idea of fluorescent lights and small talk. Normal is how traps stay quiet. At work, the break room smelled like burnt popcorn and stale creamer. The copier in the corner whined like it was offended to be used. I sat at the little round table with my laptop open, pretending to read email while my hands hovered over the touchpad like they didn't belong to me. My billing screen glared back, rows of dates, codes, payments, clean numbers. Predictable rules. The kind of world where a timestamp mattered. My phone buzzed again. Grant. I'm sorry. I panicked. Come home so we can talk. A second message followed before I could breathe. And don't embarrass me tonight. I didn't respond. I screenshot both and dropped them into the folder Keisha had labeled Time Lock on my drive, like we were building a case against a storm. Then I opened my calendar. Our shared calendar was color-coded, teal for my appointments, gray for his travel, gold for anything Nora planned. It was stupid how normal it looked, like control could be pretty. I scrolled to tonight. Engagement party, Larkspur, ballroom, 7 p.m. Under it was a smaller entry I hadn't noticed before. Toast rehearsal, 6:15 p.m. Private room B. My mouth went dry. That wasn't there last week. I knew because I'd checked it twice, 3 times every day since Nora started micromanaging. I clicked the details. The event had been edited at 3:22 a.m. 3:22 a.m. My eyes snapped back to the doorbell clip timecode in my head. 3:18 a.m. Nora at my door. Grant whispering. Paper needs silence. I heard the copier spit out a page behind me and jumped so hard I nearly knocked my coffee over. A coworker looked up, eyebrows raised. You okay? She asked. I'm fine, I lied, and my voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. I minimized my calendar like it was dangerous, then opened my inbox and searched the hotel name. My fingers moved fast, too familiar with being scared. There it was, an email thread I'd never opened because Nora handled all the details. Subject line: Larkspur Ballroom Final Itinerary, plus notary add-on. My stomach turned. I clicked it and forced myself to read like a professional, not a fiancé. A coordinator's polite paragraphs. A list of attachments. A line that made my throat close. Mobile notary confirmed for 6:30 p.m. in private room B. I stared until the words blurred. They weren't just rehearsing a toast. They were rehearsing my signature. Keisha's name popped up on my screen in a chat bubble. Any new times? I typed with shaking fingers. Toast rehearsal edited 3:22 a.m. Notary confirmed 6:30. Her reply came back instantly. Print everything. No forwarding. Print. I walked to the copier, with my laptop under my arm, like it was a shield. My badge beeped. The machine warmed up and started pulling paper like it was hungry. The subject line, the attachment list, the coordinator's name, the notary confirmation. Page after page slid out, warm in my hands. If it prints, it exists. I tucked the stack into my tote bag and went to the bathroom stall. Door locked, heart pounding in my ears. I opened the doorbell clip again and watched Nora's keyring glint at 3:18 a.m. Watched Grant lean in at the edge of frame. Just need her calm, his voice said low. Until the party. I pressed my knuckles to my mouth so I wouldn't make a sound. When I got back to my desk, Keisha was already texting me a photo of a binder, thick, black, with red tabs sticking out like warning flags. Section 1. Access logs. Section 2. Doorbell video timecode. Section 3. Hotel emails. Section 4. Texts. I stared at the red tabs and felt something in me harden. The same tabs I used for insurance audits. The same quiet, boring certainty. I wasn't a bride tonight. I was a file. I left work early under the excuse of a migraine and met Keisha at Leo's office again. He didn't ask how I felt. He slid a legal pad toward me and wrote one sentence at the top in block letters. Do not sign anything. Then he drew a line under it like he meant it. We're going public tonight, Keisha said, voice low, but controlled public. Leo nodded. 2 rules, he said. We don't accuse without showing. And we never get cornered. Alone. He handed me the binder with the red tabs. It was heavier than it should have been, like paper could carry weight. I checked the time. 4:41. Again. 4:41. Keisha leaned in close, eyes locked on mine. Breath in 4, out in 4. You're not begging, you're presenting. I did it. In. 2. 3. 4. Out. 2. 3. 4. My phone lit up with a new email notification from the hotel. Subject line. Notary packet attached bride signature page highlighted. And the preview line underneath made my skin go numb. Please bring the bride's ID. We already have a copy on file. End quote. The Larkspur ballroom looked like a wedding brochure had swallowed a hotel. Uplights washed the walls in soft amber. Linen draped every surface like someone was afraid of sharp corners. A projector screen glowed at the front with a looping slideshow titled Grant plus Tessa, Forever. My face kept appearing 10 feet tall, smiling at a man I suddenly didn't recognize. I checked the time in the lobby mirror. 6:52. I checked again. 6:52. Keisha walked beside me in a black blazer like she belonged here on purpose. The binder sat under my arm, heavy and squared, red tabs peeking out like tiny flags. At the ballroom entrance, the coordinator, tight bun, headset, practiced kindness, lifted a hand. Oh, the bride, she said brightly. We already have your ID on file, so you're all set. My stomach dipped. Who gave you my ID? I asked, keeping my voice even. Her smile wobbled, then recovered. Mrs. Price, Nora sent everything over weeks ago. Not weeks ago. Not from me. Keisha stepped forward with a soft, controlled smile that didn't reach her eyes. We need a copy of the notary packet and your final itinerary, she said. Right now. The coordinator blinked. The notary will arrive at 6:30 in private room B. That's in 11 minutes, Keisha said, checking her phone. Once. So yes. Right now. The coordinator hesitated, then leaned into her headset. Can someone bring me the notary folder? I felt the room's noise press in laughter, clinking glasses, someone saying my name like it was a celebration. I kept my chin lifted. I refused to look hunted. I wasn't here to beg. I was here to file. Across the ballroom, Grant stood near the bar, in a navy suit that fit like money. He laughed with 2 men from his job, hand on one guy's shoulder like he was generous by nature. Nora hovered close in cream and pearls, moving guests around like pieces. She spotted me, and her face lit up, too bright. "There she is," Nora called, loud enough to gather eyes. "Our girl!" Grant turned. His smile hit first, warm and practiced. Then his eyes landed on the binder, and something behind the warmth flickered irritation, then focus. He started walking toward me. Keisha angled her body half a step in front of mine without making it obvious. "Don't let him isolate you," she murmured, barely moving her lips. Grant arrived with open arms that stopped short when I didn't lean in. "You look gorgeous," he said, and it sounded like a line from a script. His gaze dropped to the red tabs. "What's that?" "Paper," I said. He chuckled like I'd made a joke. "Babe, tonight is not the night." I checked the time without looking down, like my eyes had learned the habit on their own. 7:1. Again. 7:1. Nora joined us, sliding into the space like perfume. "Sweetie," she cooed, eyes on the binder. "Don't bring work problems to a family event." A small crowd had already started to form friends, co-workers, distant relatives in polite outfits. Phones were out for photos. Smiles were ready. Nora leaned closer, voice dripping concern that felt like poison. "Look at her," she said to no one and everyone. "She's been so emotional lately." The old humiliation tried to rise in me like bile. Unstable. Faked it. I didn't take the bait. I didn't defend. I opened the binder 1 inch, just enough for red tabs to show labels in black marker. Access logs, doorbell timecode, hotel emails, texts. Nora's smile tightened. Grant's voice dropped. "You're going to embarrass yourself." "Not me," I said. The coordinator returned, clutching a manila folder and breathing like she'd been running. "Here," she whispered to Keisha. "The itinerary and notary add-on." Keisha flipped it open with calm hands. "Thank you. Chai." I caught the subject line printed at the top of the email thread inside the packet, bold and undeniable. Notary packet attached bride signature page highlighted. My skin went cold again, but my grip stayed steady. I slid that page into the binder's front sleeve. Clean and visible. Grant's eyes tracked the movement. His jaw flexed once. A man at the bar average height, dark jacket, no drink, looked up and met Keisha's gaze. He gave a tiny nod. Nothing dramatic. Just a quiet confirmation that he was watching. Keisha whispered, "That's the detective. He's here." I didn't ask why it was so fast. I didn't ask what he'd seen. I only felt the strange relief of authority being nearby, like a door locking from the outside. At the front, a DJ tapped the mic. "All right, everyone, let's gather around for a few words from Grant." Applause rippled. Chairs scraped. A semicircle formed. Grant straightened his suit and turned toward the stage like he'd been born for it. Nora's hand touched his arm ownership, disguised as pride. Grant leaned close to my ear as he passed. Keisha's nails pressed lightly into my wrist. "Stay with me," she said. Grant stepped up to the mic, smile blazing, voice booming into speakers. "Thank you all for coming," he began, lifting his glass. "Tonight is about family." Nora turned to the nearest guests and sighed theatrically. "Just be patient with her," she said, loud. "She's been confused." I raised my binder, the red tabs catching the uplight like warning flares. And from somewhere beyond the ballroom doors, a low, rising wail started to thread through the music. Word count: 702. The wail grew louder, weaving through the DJ's speakers until the music didn't sound like music anymore. Heads turned in a slow ripple. People near the doors stopped smiling first, like their faces got the news before their ears did. The ballroom's glass entry lit up in hard flashes blue, then blue again, turning the amber uplights into something sickly. A few guests laughed, confused, like it was a weird hotel thing. Blue lights turned my engagement photos into police glass. Grant's voice stalled mid-toast. The mic squealed with feedback when his hand shifted. His smile stayed on, but his eyes snapped to Nora, searching for instructions. Nora moved instantly. It's probably for another event, she said, loud and breezy. Everyone relax. The detective by the bar straightened. No drink, no smile. He touched his earpiece once, then started walking. Not fast, not slow, certain. The ballroom doors opened. Two uniformed officers came in with a third man behind them in plain clothes, badge clipped to his belt. The room's chatter thinned into a tight, nervous hush. Phones lifted without anyone being told. Grant stepped down from the mic, palms out, politician friendly. Hey, he called, laughing too lightly. What's this about? The plainclothes officer didn't laugh back. He looked past Nora, past the coordinator, straight at Grant like he'd already decided. Grant Price? He asked. Grant's smile brightened, reflexive. That's me. The officer nodded once and unfolded a paper. His voice carried, calm and official, the kind of tone that doesn't care who's watching. Grant Price, you are under arrest pursuant to a warrant for medical records fraud, forgery, and unlawful access of protected health information related to patient Tessa Wen. My name hit the room like a dropped glass. A murmur surged, sharp, hungry, immediate. Nora's face went blank in a way that scared me more than anger. She lifted a hand toward the officer like she could stop sound. This is a mistake, she said, voice tight. We can clear this up privately. The nearest officer didn't look at her. He looked at Grant. Grant tried charm first. Come on, he said, chuckling, shifting closer like this was a misunderstanding at an airport gate. I work with... The officer stepped in and took Grant's wrist. His smile broke the moment they said, fraud. Grant's laugh died. His jaw jumped. Tessa, he said, turning toward me like I was supposed to fix it. Tell them you're confused. I didn't move. Keisha's hand found my elbow, firm and steady. The officer guided Grant's hands behind his back. Metal clicked quiet, final, unmistakable. A collective inhale went through the crowd, and someone near the front whispered, "Oh my God," like it was prayer and gossip at the same time. Nora surged forward. Don't you put your hands on him. A hotel security guard appeared beside her like he'd been waiting. He angled his body in front of her, open palms, polite wall. Ma'am, he said, low. Please step back. Nora's eyes snapped, furious. The guard didn't budge. Please, step back. Grant twisted just enough to look over his shoulder. This is insane, he hissed. This is her friend stirring things up. She's unstable. That word again, dragged into the open like a weapon he'd kept polished. The plainclothes officer didn't even blink. Sir, stop talking. End quote. The DJ hovered near his laptop, frozen, unsure whether to keep the mic live. The projector behind him flickered as if it couldn't decide what story to tell. The slideshow stuttered my smiling face, dissolving into a gray-white screen. Then a different window popped up for half a second, bright and clinical, a portal screenshot with one crisp line in the center. Authorized Representative, G. Price. Gasps cut through the room. Phones zoomed in. Someone near the back said, "That's on the screen." Like it was proof and entertainment all at once. The coordinator clapped a hand over her mouth. "Oh my," she whispered, eyes wide, and started fumbling with keys like she could shove the truth back into a folder. Marla from compliance stepped into the doorway with a manila packet in her hands, red tab visible, face set like stone. She didn't look at me. She looked at the officers. For the record, she said, voice clear, the clinic confirmed unauthorized access and printing of Miss Nguyen's records, including forged consent documentation. Nora's lips parted, searching for air. You can't say that here. Marla didn't flinch. I can, and I am. Grant's shoulders dropped a fraction, like the room had finally turned the right way for him to fall. The officers began walking him toward the doors. He looked back once, eyes locked on mine, and I saw something raw there. Rage, fear, calculation, all fighting for control. Keisha squeezed my arm. Keep your head up, she whispered. As Grant disappeared into the blue-lit entryway, the detective turned toward me, badge catching the uplight, and spoke in a tone that left no room for later. Miss Nguyen, he said, You need to come with us now. I didn't get to say goodbye to anyone. The detective guided me out a side corridor that smelled like mop water and catering trays. Keisha stayed glued to my shoulder, chin high, like she could scare consequences away with posture alone. Outside, the blue lights bounced off the hotel's glass and made everyone look underwater. Miss Nguyen, the detective said, we need a statement tonight. I nodded once, because my throat didn't work. I almost checked the time out of reflex. My thumb even woke my lock screen. Then I stopped myself and slid the phone back into my pocket like it was a bad habit. For the first time, I didn't check the clock. The patrol car wasn't dramatic. It smelled like vinyl and winter air. The officer in the front didn't try to comfort me, and I was grateful. Comfort felt like a way to be managed. At the station, the front desk area hummed with fluorescent lights and tired printers. A vending machine whirred like it was alive. Someone down the hall laughed once too loud, too normal, then the sound died behind a closing door. A desk officer slid a clipboard toward me. Name? Tessa Nguyen, I said, forcing the consonants clean. She looked at me over her glasses. I answered. My voice sounded steady. My hands did not. Keisha placed the binder on the counter and opened it to the red-tabbed section without anyone asking. The desk officer's eyes flicked to the labels. Access logs, she read aloud, then looked up. Medical? Clinic breach, the detective said. Forgery. The officer's mouth tightened. She tapped at her keyboard, printed something, and the paper came out warm. She tore it off and slid it across the counter like it had weight. Here's your incident number, she said. It was bold in the top right corner. Incident #26 to 014883. I stared at it until my eyes tried to water, then refused. Keisha took a photo. Thank you, she said, calm, like we were checking in at a hotel. The detective leaned closer, voice low. This number matters. Don't lose it. I won't, I said, and I meant it. A different officer walked over with a thin packet and a pen. This is a temporary protective order request, she said. We can start it tonight. The words didn't feel real. Protective order sounded like something for other women. Women with bruises, not paper. But then I remembered Nora's keyring at 3:18 a.m. Grant's login at 3:12 a.m. The notary at 6:30 p.m. Paper didn't bruise you. It erased you. I took the pen. Keisha's phone buzzed. She glanced down, then turned the screen toward me. Leo. I'm pulling the emergency paperwork now. Don't sign anything else. 2 minutes later, Leo himself walked in, coat still on, tie loosened, eyes sharp. He didn't smile. He simply took in the room, the officers, the binder, my face. You did the right thing, he said, and it sounded like a fact, not encouragement. He spoke to the desk officer in a low, procedural voice, then handed me his card like it was armor. Next, he said, we preserve the clinic's correction letter. As if the universe heard him, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Email notification. Subject line. Chart correction confirmed. Tessa Nguyen. My throat tightened. I opened it with shaking fingers. The message was short and clinical, the way institutions apologize. Your legal name has been restored in our records. Unauthorized representative access has been removed. An internal investigation remains ongoing. At the bottom, a PDF attached. Correction, letter, NGUN. PDF. The last name hit me like oxygen. Seeing Nguyen again felt like coming back. Keisha exhaled slowly beside me. Save it. Print it, she murmured. The desk officer offered a printer without being asked. The paper slid out, and I held it like it was proof I existed. Then my phone buzzed again. Text from an unknown number. Arraignment set. 9 a.m. Courtroom 2A. Leo's name followed in the next line, like he'd sent it through a system I didn't understand. Keisha leaned in. That's fast, she whispered. Fast is good, Leo said. Fast keeps them from rewriting the story. As if on cue, a voicemail notification popped up. Nora. The preview transcript loaded 3 words before I even pressed play. Ungrateful little. I didn't listen. I swiped it away, and felt something inside me unclench. Keisha reached for the binder and peeled one red tab off with her thumbnail. It came away with a soft rip, like skin. She held it out to me. I took it, stared at the bright strip of plastic, then dropped it into the trash by the vending machine. The color looked ridiculous in there, loud and small. The detective returned with a final form in his hand. He didn't sit, he just looked at me, eyes steady. "Miss Nguyen," he said, "do you want to add Nora Price to the complaint tonight?" I didn't answer the detective with a speech. I answered with a nod and a quiet, yes. Because Nora's keyring wasn't an accident. Because keep her calm wasn't concern. Because my name didn't change itself at 3:12 a.m. After the paperwork, after the signatures that were actually mine, Leo walked me to my car like a professional escorting a client through weather. Keisha stayed on the phone with a locksmith, voice clipped, making decisions like she was born for crisis. I slid into the driver's seat and shut the door. The quiet inside my car was immediate and private, like a blanket. The ultrasound gel still clung to my skin in a faint, tacky line. I reached into the center console, found an old napkin, and wiped my belly slowly. Not frantic, not ashamed, just done. I wiped the gel like I was erasing their fingerprints. The napkin went into a gas station bag. The bag got tied shut. Keisha's voice came through the speaker. "Locks are getting changed tonight," she said. "I'll stay with you." "I know," I whispered. I took the ultrasound printout from my tote. The glossy paper looked harmless now, like a photo someone might frame. I stared at the label one last time, Price, Tessa, and felt my mouth flatten. Then, I reached for my ring. It didn't want to come off at first. My fingers were a little swollen. My hand trembled once, from cold or adrenaline. I couldn't tell. I twisted gently, pulled, breathed. The ring slid free. I didn't throw it. I didn't dramatic drop it onto the console. I set it in a plain white envelope Leo had given me, the kind you use for court copies. Then I folded the ultrasound printout once and slid it in with the ring. Promise and proof in the same place. Keisha went quiet for a beat. "You okay?" she asked, softer than she'd been all day. I looked up at the rearview mirror. My face was pale, my eyes were tired, but they were mine. "No," I said honestly. "But I'm here." Outside, the parking lot lights made the windshield look speckled. I started the engine. The dashboard clock lit up. I didn't look at it. I backed out, slow and careful, like my life was glass but not breakable. On the highway, the city thinned into dark trees and long stretches of road. The radio stayed off. I let the hum of tires be the only sound, steady and real. Keisha stayed on speaker, breathing with me when my breath tried to race. "In 4, she reminded me. "Out 4. I did it. "In 2, 3, 4. Out 2, 3, 4. The horizon ahead started to lighten, faint as a promise I hadn't earned yet. A thin line of sunrise stretched over I-40 like someone drew it with a careful hand. I glanced at the mirror one more time. Softer eyes. Tight jaw, but not clenched. A woman who'd been written over, then written herself back. I kept driving, toward whatever came next, and for the first time in weeks, the silence felt owned.